An unlawful assembly has been declared, and Virginia State Police are now out here on the scene. They're clearing the streets. Albemarle County fire rescue crews have the fire under control here right now in this part of Albemarle County. Let me take a step out of the way so you can see the extent of the damage here. We were just allowed up here to this area to be able to see the damage. The house is a total loss. I am told through my sources that this case could go federal, depending on these other victims that they might find through all their investigations within, say, 60 to 90 days. I know you told me earlier people were throwing, was it bottles full of concrete at each other? What were some of the things happening back and forth there? The clinic here in Grisson Gard is open all year round. The Charlottesville-based medical team comes down here 4 times a year. We'll let you take a look inside. The mayor actually had to cancel the regular portion of this meeting so that people could basically have an airing of grievances here tonight. Henry Graff here at the command post where a manhunt is underway for Matthew Carver. 3 updates right now from police. The Wahoo faithful will pack the stands here at Madison Square Garden Friday night to watch the Cavaliers take on Michigan State on this hardwood floor under the big lights. Mayor Mike Signer will accept the Defender of Democracy Award along with the people of Charlottesville. But neighbors tell me several men just opened fire on each other in the middle of the street with children around. The city says it had to carefully craft a release coming out of tonight's private closed-door session here at City Council. But long story short, here in the end, there's nothing really the city or City Council can do about the rally itself or those counter-protests. You're gonna have to happen in that 3-hour. After 4 hours behind closed doors, Charlottesville Mayor Mike Signer wasn't in a talking mood.
Our attorney will be putting out a statement tonight
about the fate of a controversial rally set for August 12th in Charlottesville.
We're trying to be really careful about this right now, and that's why it took us a long time in there. We really are reviewing the issues carefully.
Sources tell NBC 29 council gathered its legal options about how to handle the Unite the Right rally hosted by white activist Jason Kessler. Council even talked with an outside lawyer for help. City manager Maurice Jones, currently on vacation, teleconferenced in.
There was a lot of good conversation that took place. We received and reviewed a lot of different information.
Wednesday night, council met for 4 times longer than it originally planned in a private session to discuss the rally, where thousands are expected. Those in the room included councilors, the city attorney, members of Virginia State Police, and the city's police chief.
Thank you. Do you have a state police here?
No one would provide real answers about attendance numbers, a security plan, or what the city actually thought it could do to prevent the rally from happening or move it from its downtown location.
We were just discussing kind of legal options, so we weren't making logistical plans or anything.
And a statement from Jason Kessler from earlier today. He says, quote, the rally is about supporting the Robert E. Lee Monument, so any motion to force supporters from demonstrating in front of it is a deliberate infringement of our First Amendment rights. So again, the highlight here, the Unite the Right rally will still happen on August 12th, and it appears council's exhausted at least some of its legal options at this point in time on this. A news conference is also now set for August 7th to provide some unspecified details, maybe some safety plans and other issues that will be happening around that date. For now, though, we are live here at City Hall. I'm Henry Graff, NBC 29 News. Until now, we can only describe the confession tape for you, but tonight, the words straight from Hughley himself.
You killed her, George. You killed her.
She's dead.
I think you knew that already.
It's 7:52 a.m., May 3rd, 2010, just 43 minutes before life was about to drastically change for University of Virginia star lacrosse player George Wesley Hughley, the All-American boy from Washington, D.C., who was about to go from the top of his game to convicted murderer.
No, I mean, she was not screaming.
Yeah.
She should have been, probably.
She was Yardley Love, a fourth-year student at UVA and lacrosse player who, just days earlier, Hughley called his girlfriend.
I am investigating a case, all right, and you are being detained.
Charlottesville Police Detective Lisa Best sat face-to-face with Hughley in the intense interrogation, hours after he broke into Love's 14th Street apartment, repeatedly shook her head against a wall, and left his ex-girlfriend face down in a pool of blood.
Yeah, it was locked, yeah. Because I think I put a hole.
Yeah, you punched a hole through the door.
Pretty sure, actually, now. Yeah, that you said that, yeah. Pretty sure.
Why'd you do that?
Because I want to talk to her.
Do you believe he just wanted to talk to her about their rocky relationship?
I do believe his intention was to go there and talk to her at first. I think that with the alcohol and his temper, and once he got in there, I think once she told him that she didn't want to talk to him, I think that's when it escalated at that moment.
Hours earlier, Hughley hit the links with his dad at Wintergreen. A full day of drinking gave way to dinner here at the CNO in downtown Charlottesville, and even more alcohol.
What happened next?
What happened next, and she just kept hitting her head against the wall while she was sitting on the bed, and I was like, and I grabbed her and I like shook her. I was like, stop, like we need to like, and looked at her. I was like, we need to like talk about this. And like, I mean, I was holding her arms and stuff.
In my view, the statement was of central importance.
Did you choke her at one point?
I may have grabbed her a little bit by the neck when we were like, but I never like strangled her.
City prosecutor Dave Chapman secured the second-degree murder conviction against Hughley in 2012. During the trial, he played 63 minutes of the interrogation tape to the jury.
On the one hand, was it premeditated? On the other hand, could you see in the interview that the suspect was surprised?
NBC 29 legal analyst Lloyd Snook says the confession wasn't Hughley's only issue at his trial.
He could perfectly well have defended the case if the pictures weren't awful, if the medical injuries weren't awful.
Ian Glumsky was on the jury that convicted Hughley. He declined to be re-interviewed about the tape, but says he hasn't wavered on what he said after the trial.
When things start off, he's basically a bad boy with his hand caught in the cookie jar.
I mean, I'm in here for an assault charge.
And then when they tell him that Yardley's dead, there's a very big change in his demeanor.
I want to see her.
George, look at me.
George.
She is dead.
He would have had to been a fantastic actor to pull off the emotional responses that he did.
How is she dead?
I found it very believable.
Oh, no, I didn't know.
Why didn't you know?
Why? She's not dead. She's not dead.
But seeing a live person suffering.
And it didn't get out of control. She's not dead. She's not dead. She's not dead. There's no way she's dead. There's no way. I didn't do it. No way. No way.
That convinced me that he really had no idea, first off, that at that point that she was dead, and that kind of therefore means he didn't go over there with the intention to kill her.
22-year-old, 22, and her life is done.
Oh my God, kill me.
It was very sad. You know, Yardley's life was taken away from her, and then George making a very stupid decision.
Fast forward, just 2 weeks after this interrogation, Hughley, a fourth year, would have graduated from UVA and begin his career in real estate at a firm in Washington, D.C. A promising dream turned nightmare in the blink of an eye.
I did.
Hughley's final U.S. Supreme Court appeal was denied last month. He is serving a 23-year prison sentence right now at the Augusta Correctional Unit. Hughley declined a request for an interview on the story. The 28-year-old is set to be released from prison coming up in 2029. She says her voice was heard loud and clear. She cares about sexual assault survivors, and Rolling Stone got it plain wrong.
It was vindicating.
Nicole Aramo reflects on some of the darkest days of her life.
To say that, you know, I was wronged in some way, it felt really good in the end. But it was a very difficult process to get there.
That difficult process for her own justice started last October, 2 years after the former University of Virginia associate dean was portrayed as indifferent to allegations of gang rape on grounds in a 2014 Rolling Stone article, a 9,000-word account of a brutal attack on a student named Jackie, a story that was later retracted by the magazine and debunked. Aramo would file suit for defamation. Her day in court had finally come.
I had a pump-up song every day that I would ride to the courthouse in just to get ready. It was from Hamilton.
It was that musical routine, along with the support of family and friends, that got Aramo through each grueling day inside the Charlottesville Federal Courthouse, as she sought $7.5 million in damages from the magazine and its author, Sabrina Rubin Erdely.
It was very difficult to sit, 10 feet from Ms. Erdely while she testified every day. I didn't anticipate how difficult that would be.
I feel like if we can get these guys, we should. You know what I mean? Because we have a chance to do something important and make a difference.
Just the extent to which she spoke to my students about, feeling like I had acted inappropriately. That was really difficult to hear.
As was the magazine's lack of responsibility, even after a jury ruled in Aramo's favor and awarded her $3 million in damages.
You go into that process hoping to get justice, hoping to get people to take responsibility for their actions. I never felt like that happened. And we felt like we were on the right side. I knew that I was telling the truth.
That truth is what Aramo is holding on to, putting a very dark chapter in her life to rest, and finally writing a new one she's in charge of.
It felt like it was finally at the end of a really long journey.
Aramo says she doesn't blame Jackie here in the end. She saw Jackie actually during Jackie's videotaped deposition, which was played in federal court. That was the first time they saw each other since the article came out. And the last, tonight at 11, we take a look at the good that is coming out of all of this. How Aramo's taking money, donating money, starting a fund at the University of Virginia to fight against sexual violence, all to a new level.